right. Did you send that out too?
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Rise for the pledge.
To the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forward, march.
Mr. Richards, could you call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Berkmeyer,
Is excused tonight.
Mr. Green,
Mr. Green is also excused tonight.
Mr. Richards is here. Mr. Moses.
Here.
Mr. DeRue,
Here.
Mr. Middlestat,
Mr. Middlesex excused tonight.
Ms. Knox.
Here. Okay, first we have the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we have a hearing of the public. I did not receive any write-ins, so we will move on to the superintendent's update.
If I can direct your attention to the screens. This is, it's an update for just the preparation for the bond. We did some focus panels. So if you recall, last month, this is where we ended up. We talked about the phases of how we were working through everything. We are solidly in phase 3. So we were working on community focus panels. There was also a survey that went out last week that we're still awaiting the results. And we are currently here with the update off of the community focus panels. So I'm going to give you kind of the high level summary based off of that, and then we'll actually get a full report from it once they have the surveys and the focus panel set up. And again, this was something that the state actually provided the funding so that we could do the building infrastructure assessment and all of these preparations. So just to kind of refresh your memory, these are all of the different groups that we've had in so far. So right now we've had about, it's probably just shy of about 300 people that have been involved in the preparation between the engineers, the community staff, students, and parents, and so on. So we did 10 focus panels. They were key influentials, community leaders, elected officials, secondary students, preschool, elementary parents, support staff, preschool, elementary teaching staff, middle and high school teaching staff, parent leaders like PTO, booster club leaders, long-time residents that currently do not have students in school, and administrative staff. The first question that was asked was to grade the district overall, and the consensus was that they gave the district a solid B. And basically for the following reasons: that educational program improvements, the vision of the superintendent and board, well-qualified caring teachers and staff, the variety of programs and services offered. We asked them about communication. Are they aware of what's going on? And they expressed a great appreciation for what we've done so far in between the strategic planning, between just keeping people in the loop, whether it's through our emails and then focus groups and giving people an opportunity to kind of chime in. They said that the improvements in administrative communication, community engagement, and thoughtfulness were very positive changes for the school district. Some of the quotes that were provided were, "I like the new superintendent's approach to giving feedback before making a decision on this issue. The redistricting for the middle school makes sense. It should have happened years ago. Consolidating schools in New Baltimore makes sense. That's where the majority of the population currently resides." And we even asked about the issue with McDonald, and they talked about that they thought it was set up for failure, basically because of the area that it was set up. And then they like the fact that we were looking 20 years ahead instead of being reactive, so we asked them overall, basically, what are your thoughts on the facility plan? And they generally favored the facility plan as designed. No panelists indicated opposition to the plan. And 8 out of 10 panelists said that they would support it. And basically about 20% of them were not sure, and they really wanted more details on it, which we'll share later, some of the questions that they had. Most of the panelists in this category wanted information. They wanted more on the components of the plan, and it was shared with them. Basically, these are the big questions, and then based off of the response on those big questions, we'll work on the smaller questions. So on the elementary changes, they basically favored the facilities plan as designed. They did express concern about the size of the elementaries and just making sure that we separate the younger and the older students and how the administration and class sizes can be affected on that. Comments where it makes sense from an operational viewpoint to consolidate Ashley Lighthouse and Aldert Lottie. However, what is the data on benefit risks of such a large school? Current resources are not being fully used. This will fix that issue. Ashley is a tired building. I'm glad it will be updated. And once it's built, people will like the large elementary schools, as long as it is truly 2 schools under one roof that share common rooms such as gym, cafeteria, etc. Middle school changes. So when those were kind of explained, they favored the expansion, especially the career preparation, which is something we knew from strategic planning. That was something that came loud and clear, that they wanted career opportunities to extend down and begin sooner for students. They were concerned about the travel time. Since we're not having high school students go to the middle schools, but we're going to share between the 2 middle schools, they wanted to see kind of a detail on that, which we'll work on. Comments were, right now there seems to be a disparity between the middle schools. Hopefully the plan will address what needs to be done. If the structure is the same at both middle schools, it shouldn't matter which feeder schools change, because that's in reference to Great Oaks and McCont's flipping middle schools. And the current curriculum, courses, and delivery and instruction aren't the same at middle school north and south. And the current electives aren't the same at both middle schools. So they wanted to make sure that as we do these changes, to make sure that we're addressing that so every kid has the same opportunity. High school changes. So they supported the transformation and especially the enhancements for the band, athletic programs, auditorium, and art spaces. They really endorsed, again, the focus on careers and college credit opportunities. Again, that just reinforces what we saw at the strategic planning. They agreed with the need to make the high school operate and feel much smaller while preserving opportunities. And then part of this was they were asked if they had any questions about any of these. So these are the main questions, details that they were looking for. How will the plan address the perceived disparity in middle school programming, which we discussed? How will the large elementary schools work? How will the configuration at the elementary level affect traffic flow? That was a large one. When Lottie is demolished, what will be done with the land? And how will the reconfiguration affect athletic programs and facilities? Because I know like we would have to relocate the baseball diamond on Ashley and what cost savings will result from voter approval of the facilities plan. Other thoughts that they shared, just overall, they really said that the district should emphasize that will not be an increase, it's just a refinancing and extension of the current bond and tax rate. That clear and accurate information will be key to having the bond be successful. That they really wanted a lot of detail on logistics and timelines of how this would work, and everybody wanted to know when would my students see whatever improvements. They wanted to know what would happen if the bond doesn't pass. And there was a sentiment that was shared fairly widely that they were still angry with the previous administration for not delivering on what was promised, and to make sure what was promised that we follow through on all of that. So again, we are at this phase right now, and we are going to have a follow-up strategic planning meeting on May 11th. That'll be held right here. And at that point, now we're going to take this, we'll take the survey results, we'll address a lot of those questions, and we'll share that with the strategic planning group. And then we'll walk through that. Then we'll develop the final proposal. That'll go to the board next month. And then in June, we take it to the state for their approval. And then if the state approves it, then in July, we have to, no, actually it would be August, because there has to be so many days that pass. And then it would be brought before the board for to be placed on the ballot. Any questions?
I'd have one question just on that last thing, just because I think it's a interesting one, that as far as any of the promises made on the last bond, is there stuff that didn't get done? Because we had roughly about $1 million left over after everything that was done, and we used that for extra stuff. Not for tonight, obviously, it's a question for when you get back to those panelists to let them know.
Yeah.
Because as far as trying to go out and pass a bond right now, I'm not getting into the previous administration, this administration, but for the residents to know that getting what you pay for, and what you're paying in taxes for, my understanding is everything was done and we even saved money, and we had an extra $1 million. I want to say it was roughly $1 million at the end, and we were able to do extra stuff. I think it was the
part of
the internet at the middle school. So I just wanted to address that, because that's huge when
these focus panels were anonymous, so none of us were there, so I can't necessarily speak to that. But I know the one thing I had heard was there was some belief that we might have been going 1-to-1, like with the previous one. And again, I wasn't here, so I can't necessarily speak to that. But it was technology aspects, which we've been working on and moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
My only question was, do you plan on surveying the entire district eventually as we move on, or for more feedback, or are you going to limit that to the?
Well, we did have people respond to the staff one, because when that was put out there, so we did get significant number of responses from there. So those are going to be kind of filtered out and just use separate, because it's really the same survey for everybody.
Right.
So we'll pull those that information as well.
Okay, thanks.
Kind of a semi question or something to think about is how we're going to roll out the bond. I mean, obviously we'll need some sort of packet or, informational thing, but also if we have any way of doing maybe a brief video or something that we can put on social media, and then people can always go and see something larger. Maybe it's something you guys are already thinking about,
Well, basically what we would do is we wouldn't do anything. Right now, we're still in the deciding what's in there. So once the board decides what's in the bond, then the state approves it. Then we'll start, I'll visit each building. We'll kind of walk through that, and we'll do something with the parents at each building so they can kind of understand it from their perspective. Then, especially because it'll be August, so once school starts, then we'll really publicize everything that down to the detail. And we'll do based off of what feedback we get from the surveys, strategic planning group, all of that. We'll develop a frequently asked question like that, so people can go on and kind of see. And then if they ask questions that are not in there, we'll add that to that document. So it's just running along so that people understand exactly what it's going to do, how it's going to work. And likewise, we're also looking at, we know once the state kind of sets their budget, there might be some funding offset there from the state. They're looking to do an infrastructure portion. So we'll have those details hopefully by that point in time. So then we'll be able to answer all of those questions as part of it.
Is that it? We'll be moving on to Human Resources Candidate Tracking Software presentation with Ms. Gonzalez.
Good evening, Board. Mr. Jankowski, thank you for inviting me tonight to present to you exciting updates in the HR world here. So we have some exciting things going on in HR. So we recently purchased a new applicant tracking software. And with that software, we opted to take an additional module, which will completely digitize our HR department. We will no longer have like paper personnel files, and everything will be done electronically and online, for instance, when we hire new employees. We're already planning for next school year. We've had a meeting with our secondary administrators looking at teacher vacancies. Those are posted. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our partnership with Oakland University. So we'll start first with our new applicant tracking system. This is what it looks like on the website. So when job seekers go to Anchor Bay's website and they click on the human resources page and they want to see what jobs we have, this is what it will look like to them. It's a very sophisticated system. It's a lot different than the one we were using previously. It's very user-friendly, that we're finding it to be very user-friendly. We recently posted all our summer school opportunities for teachers and staff, and I've received a lot of feedback from them about how easy it was to apply and how user-friendly it was. Like, I would get an email with a question and then there would be an email back less than 5 minutes later. Never mind, I figured it out. You know, it's really easy. Our previous system would go down a lot. We would have to call Tim and get a lot of help with it. People would create an account, be working on an application, and then for whatever reason not be able to finish it, and then try to log back in. They wouldn't be able to log back in. I mean, there was a lot of issues with it. So far this is working really well. My assistant Sherry and I just finished up our training with it this week. We trained, we went live with it, and then, you know, once you start a new software program and you get into it and using it, there's the questions that come up. So we met with them again this week, went through everything, and we have a really good working knowledge of the system at this point. So say we have a teacher or an applicant that applies and we decide to hire them for teacher, they would apply, and this is the screen. Like if an administrator logs in to see what vacancies they have in their building, this is the screen they're going to see, and they're going to see the names of all the applicants that applied, and it will have, you know, there's some other information with it, but then the job title. You see those little colors at the top. Administrators can review the applicants for positions and they can color code it. So like if there's people they're really interested in, they could make them one certain color and then, you know, rank them based on colors or however they want to organize. But it's nice because if you're like me, when we're looking at teachers, I'm in and out of the resumes a lot. And this is for me going to be very useful because I just can color code the ones that I know for sure we want to interview. And I'm the only one that sees it. So each user, each administrator who has applicants and uses the system color codes it themselves, and that's unique to them. That's not seen by others. So say we have an applicant, like we're going to have 2 tonight before you to approve. And we do go through the interview process. Then once we decide on the applicant that we want to hire, there's a button at the top of this that will say begin hire. And what it does is it takes their resume and it creates their personnel file with that. You get the beginnings of their personnel file with it. This next screen is what it's called My Tasks. So the beauty of the system is every employee is going to have a login for the HR side of it, the personnel side, and can log in and review their personnel files at any time once we are fully up and running. So then the other thing we can do, like each fall, we send our teachers their teacher contract. This system will digitize that, where we can send it out automatically to all the teachers. They sign it electronically. Once they sign it, it will immediately file it in their personnel file. Right now, that process is my administrative assistant on Microsoft Word, trying to mail merge. It's quite a lengthy process, printing those all out, stuffing those in envelopes, sending them through interoffice mail, tracking them when they come back. And this is just gonna expedite that. I mean, really in 24 hours, you could have almost everybody just done. We're very excited. This next screen is what it will look like from our view, the HR view. In the personnel files, we're able to create separate folders. And then with each folder, there's what they call a workflow. And that's going to be who's available to view those files, and then the forms that go in those files. So when we hire a new employee and they fill out, all their documents through the system, when they finish their payroll documents, those are automatically going to be routed to a payroll file, and Renee Keller will be able to view all those documents. Right now, what happens is when we hire an employee, we set an appointment for them to come in, we meet with them, we go through all the paperwork with them, send them off with a stack of paper. Then they set a second appointment to come in to finish that, to bring the finished paperwork in. And it can be very time consuming. Like this last year, we hired 34 teachers. It took a lot of our time to get all of that processed. This will expedite it all. We will still have teachers come in because with Mr. Jankowski, he wants to meet with all of our new teachers, which is exciting for me because that's how it was done at a previous district. And teachers, that means a lot to a teacher when they get a one-on-one with their superintendent. It really builds a strong relationship right from the start. Okay, we're in the process of training. We've had 2 sessions so far. The timeline to get all the training done, all the forms built, all the workflows, everything to where we can go live and start using it, it's about 60 hours of training. So Sherry and I are working on this. We're trying really hard to get it done by June so that we're ready to go for next school year. So for next year, we are planning for that. We're looking at where our teacher vacancies will be. We're meeting with elementary administrators next week, and we'll see what we need for elementaries. We've started interviewing. You have 2 recommendations for hire tonight before you for a middle school ELA teacher and for a special education teacher. We're working really hard to make sure that Anchor Bay is staffed appropriately. There is a teacher shortage. I know that is a big debate. Some say there is a teacher shortage, some say there's not a teacher shortage, because they look at the total number of certified teachers and they say, we've got, all these thousands of teachers, how can we have a shortage? Well, a lot of those certified teachers are retired and they're no longer working. So though they're still counted in that number. But we're working really hard to make sure that Anchor Bay is staffed adequately, and hiring early is one of the best ways to do that. We have a partnership with Oakland University. This is something I've been working on for a couple years, but this year it really blossomed. We now work with them with these are their education students, their education majors. And the program begins with the students that are juniors. And they come in and they do a 40-hour observation. We have to have 4 teachers in each, for this group, we had 4 teachers in each building. And then the students were put in pairs. So, it's a collaboration. So they have to do 1 semester in lower L, 1 semester in upper L. We have 21 juniors that just finished up. They finished up, OU's done for the semester. And those students will be coming back to us in the fall. And the ones that were in lower L are switched to upper L, and the upper L's are in lower L. And then we have seniors coming. We have 5 student teacher placements already. Anchor Bay is a place teachers want to be, and they get a lot of requests for placements in Anchor Bay. Our goal is to eventually expand this to all of the elementary buildings. We started with Neldrit, McCons, and Ashley, and we're looking at moving it out through all of the buildings. Next fall, we'll have the juniors back in those 3 buildings, and then I have student teacher placements at Great Oaks and at Lighthouse. So starting in the fall, we're in the planning stages of this. I'm working with the department head at OU. They have professors that would like to embed their classes within Anchor Bay schools, meaning one day a week, their class would be held within an Anchor Bay school. The professor would teach, it's about a 2-hour class, usually in the middle of the day, like a 10 to 12 or a 12 to 2. And then the students would be released from class. We would coordinate with that subject matter teachers. For instance, if it was social studies, the students, the college students would be released. They would go into some of our social study classes and actually work with the students and apply the knowledge that they're learning. That would be really exciting for us. It would give us a pathway to secondary teachers as well as elementary teachers. We have a social studies teacher, a science teacher, a math teacher, and a literacy, professor. So we're working on trying to find the space and coordinate the program to have 4 OU professors in our buildings, which is really exciting. Does anyone have any questions? I know I rambled on really fast. Any questions? Okay. All right,
No
thank you.
questions. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. All right, we will now move on to the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes, the personnel report, financial report, and bills payable for March 2022. Do we have any questions or discussion for that?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion to approve. Second by Moses.
Mr. Richards, can you call the roll, please?
Can do that. Mr. DeRue,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Richards, yes. Motion passes.
All right, and moving on to new business. First one is a field trip. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approves a field trip for the BPA, which is the Business Professionals of America, national competition in Dallas, Texas, in May from the 4th through the 8th. 2 students will be accompanied by Anchor Bay CTE teacher James Wagner. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. DeRue. By Moses. Mr. DeRue,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
and Mr. Richards, yes. Motion passes.
Passes. And next up is the MISD budget resolution. At the April 2022 annual meeting of the Macomb County School Boards, the MISD budget was unanimously approved. Under new ISD legislation, the general fund operating budget must be approved by each individual board, and the deadline for this resolution is June 1st of 2022. The recommended action is that the Board of Education either approve or not approve the MISD budget resolution as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Mr. DeRue,
Yes.
Mr. Moses.
Yes.
Ms. Knox.
Yes.
And Mr. Richards, yes.
Next, we have an award recommendation. A request for the food service equipment bid was uploaded to Sigma on March 18th of 22. 3 bids were received: HPS Merchandise Equipment Supply and Stafford Smith Incorporated. The recommendation from the Food Service Department is to award the bid to HPS. Per federal guidelines, food service funds must not exceed 3 months of operating budget, and excess funds must be used to update the program. This bid will allow us to remain within those guidelines and timelines. The recommended action is that the Board of Education award the bid to HPS in the amount of $211,597.97 as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Drew. Mr. Drew,
Yes.
Mr. Moses.
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Richards, yes.
Now we will move on to board comments and points of pride. We will kick off with Mr. Richards.
Moving quick tonight. Moving quick tonight. I'd like to thank everyone that organized and participated in the first middle school baseball clinic. I'd also like to thank the entire varsity baseball staff for volunteering on a Saturday for such a great event. The Anchor Bay Education Association has a quilt raffle until Friday, May 6th. All proceeds go to the ABA Scholarship Fund. Anchor Bay is still hiring. We are looking to fill positions in food services, SAC program, custodian positions, prepare lunchroom help, along with other substitutes district-wide. I'd like to thank everyone that participated in the beautification event. The district buildings look great. Thank you to Corey Wiley for coordinating the event. The Aquatic Center still has swimming lessons in April and May. We have lessons for preschool, toddler, and youth to learn swim lessons. Also, swim club conditioning is Monday and Thursday, or Thursdays only. Congratulations to middle school North students of the month, Sophia Kittleson, Reese Warner, and Eli Setlek. I would like to congratulate 99 Problems, but winning isn't one. They are the winners of the 12th annual Anchor Bay North Dodgeball Tournament. Thank you to the ABA for organizing the event. All proceeds also, once again, go towards the scholarship fund. I'd like to thank the National Honor Society and SAD students for teaming up and partnering in the National Takedown Tobacco Day. Congratulations to Captain of the Month at Middle School North, Mark Patty. Thank you for everything that you do, Mark. On Thursday, April 28th, the high school Relay for Life team is running a Taco Thursday at the VFW on 23 Mile New Baltimore. All proceeds will benefit the Relay for Life. I'd like to recognize the Middle School South Junior National Honor Society and Student Council for organizing an Easter egg hunt at the Early Childhood Center. I believe all the Childhood Center students participated, enjoyed that event. The annual Anchor Bay Support Staff Spring Fling Cornhole Tournament is Saturday, April 30th. Congratulations to our state qualifying bridge building team students from Middle School South. Congratulations to seniors Keegan Bosserick, Ashley Ortenberg, Matthew Dahlman, and Gavin Geck on being honored at the All-County Academic Team. Ashley is also a member of the All-Academic Dream Team. I'd like to thank all the student staff and student council members that participated and helped at the senior scholarship basketball game. It was great to see everyone come together to help raise money for the senior scholarships. And by the way, seniors won, maybe staff can get some payback next year. Middle school dance team tryouts are May 16th and 17th. This is open to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students from North and South. 7th and 8th grade boys and girls summer basketball tryouts for junior MBA are May 10th and 11th. Registration for the Junior Public Safety Academy at the Chesterfield Police Station is going on until May 27th. Congratulations to the middle school dance team girls who made the USPBL Jimmy John's dance team. They are Madison Leslie, Liliana Guzman, Alana DeWitt, and Nina Nadeau. The ABEA Night at the Race fundraiser is Friday, May 6th. All proceeds benefit the ABA Scholarship Fund. And congratulations to the Middle School South 8th grade girls basketball team on your undefeated season. Awesome job. That's all I have. Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Drew?
All right, well done, Mr. Richards, as normal. I'd like to take this, I I had the honor of, what was it, 2 weeks ago, we held here at Anchor Bay over at the Shoreliner, the monthly meeting or quarterly meeting of Massey. It's called the Michigan Apprenticeship Steering Committee. And for those that don't know, it's a advocacy group made up of professionals from the education, industry, and manufacturing sector, construction trades, and governmental departments of Michigan. And the Massey's objective is to educate Michigan's workforce and employer groups on the benefits of participation in registered apprenticeship. I wanted to bring it up because I was very proud to, the meeting was held here, like I said, at the Shoreliner, and I got put on that board as my job for the plumbers. And they show, after they have the meeting, they showcase what we have going on here at Anchor Bay. And Superintendent Phil Jankowski did a great job. I want to thank you for putting that on and doing what you did. And Joe McDonald, Jeff LaPerriere, Sherry Kenward, and all the counselors and teachers. When we did the tour of the high school, I got to tell you, I got so many calls from people that were involved in that event of how great our school was and how they didn't know, that we had such a great high school and all those programs, the 16 different programs that we have, and your outlook on what you're looking to do here as far as the CTE programs, obviously near and dear to my heart, but it was just great. I just wanted to commend everybody that was a part of that and let the school know that it didn't go unnoticed, and a lot of people are talking about Anchor Bay. So, and then we have, as part of that group, and I know Superintendent Jankowski's been there is, I want to pull it up so I don't get it wrong. Next week, May 4th and 5th, it's the 2022 Michigan Construction Career Days held out in Howell, Michigan at the Operator Engineers Training Center. But all the trades will be out there in multiple other groups. So anybody that can get out there, go out there. It's something to see. And it's that pathway to the other four-year degree that is finally getting noticed. And, I like the ideas. I won't put them out there. I know that Phil's looking to do, and I just appreciate it. So I think that's a big point of pride, something that needs to be done. So thank you.
Mr. Moses?
I think pretty much everything was covered with you guys, and I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys covering all that. That's awesome. You do a great job, Mr. Richards, Mr. Drew. That was excellent. I appreciate that because I'm learning about stuff too up here, and that's pretty cool. So, good job, guys.
Okay, I just have a couple of things. Mr. Moses failed to mention, Mr. Richards talked about our beautification day. Mr. Moses was out there with his family painting buildings. So our board members are really involved in all different aspects of the district, and that's really cool to see. Everything from CTE to painting to scholarship basketball games. The seniors did win, but those teachers hustled.
Yeah.
The basketball players cannot play, but that did not prohibit the track stars, the football players, the lacrosse players, the soccer players. I mean, yeah, so they did a fantastic job, and it was a really, really fun night. The one thing I do want to say that nobody mentioned, I'm shocked, is Happy Administrative Professionals Day to all of our administrative staff. I know for the board, Miss DiCristofaro is like our savior. Anytime we need something, she's always right there. We have the best staff, and you don't realize, like, you look at a building and it's beautiful and you don't see all the structure. And our administrative staff is that structure that's behind all the cool stuff we see. The second that starts breaking down, then you notice. So if you don't notice anything, that's because they're doing a phenomenal job. So thank you to all of our administrative professionals in the district. And with that, we will move on to a legislative update.
We finally have budget proposals from the House, the Senate, and the governor. What I basically am sharing with you, it's a score sheet that one of the administrative organizations kind of keeps, and it basically goes line by line. It's far more in depth to kind of go through, but it's for your reading enjoyment. So it just goes through and it compares the difference between the House, the Senate, and the executive budget for each area. The summary is essentially, the governor put out a detailed proposal. The top line number that everybody looks at is the per pupil increase was about $435. The Senate put out, this is unique in my experience. They only put out just the top line number. They didn't do any of the categoricals or anything like that. Basically, because at this point now it moves into negotiations between the three branches. So they just put out a $450 increase per student. Then the House put out a very detailed proposal that I thought was very well thought out. While the top line number was only about $350 per student increase, they are really taking a shot at trying to handle the pension liability for the state, because that's been creeping up. And even though it was about, I think 8 years ago that they changed the whole pension system. So now it put many people, you're in a hybrid, it's not a traditional pension system anymore. There's that unfunded liability that had been growing. And so they want to take a lot of the one-time money in order to pay that down, which would translate into savings overall. And really, when we do the audit and you hear that UAAL, the unaccounted liabilities, that top line number will start coming down if they take that approach. And so for every dollar they put into that, it's almost like $1.60 that we see back in freed up funding, because we're not having to pay that, because the earlier they pay it down, the better off it is. Because right now it's meant to sunset. I think it's like 2036. They would have most of that paid down, but if they can accelerate that, then they're not paying the extra interest and all of that on top of it in order to kind of balance that out. So it's very rare that you can get the opportunity to shore up budgets across the state and lower costs at that much, and really handle it once and for all. So the House budget, while the top line number doesn't look as good at face value, in the details, I think it's a strong budget. And that's it for the legislative update.
Any concerns? I know it just came out today, but any concerns at all that you have looking at it yet? Not necessarily, because we'll see how everything's going to kind of shake out. I mean, I really think that they need to, the main concern is the other two, the governor's and the Senate budget does not address the unfunded liabilities, whereas the House does. So my concern is, if it's two against one, it might not happen. Other than that, it's a strong budget for all three of them. What we'll do now is we'll set a finance committee meeting based off of this, settle on whatever we think our number will be, and then we'll be able to plan for our budget for next year. Thank you.
There are no other comments. I don't believe we had any committee updates.
No.
Committee updates?
No, I think we're gonna, no.
Yeah.
Now that we got some more projections,
details, yeah.
we'll probably have a finance committee meeting. I know Superintendent's gonna put something out for the finance
Yeah.
committee to meet here pretty soon. And I just wanted, just on this, I guess, thanks for all the information you send. It's nice to get, sometimes it's overload, but it's, more is better than none, so thank you.
All right, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I'm going for the toaster.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourns at 7:45.
Jill to run all future meetings.